All right, everyone. This is another NTD News interview that I did. This time, it is on Israel and Lebanon and Hezbollah and what it means for the memorandum of understanding between Iran and the United States. Tons of questions bring up how Gaza is different than Lebanon because Hamas is the governing body of Gaza. So stay tuned for that. Also, I was asked my assessment on whether or not the 60 days. Well, I guess first, if the 60-day memorandum of understanding will hold, but more importantly, will we see true peace in the Middle East between the U.S., Iran, and Israel when when those 60 days are up? And I give my assessment on that towards the end. So you're going to want to stay tuned. You're going to want to hear that, and then you're going to want to comment your assessment. Let me know what you think. Is it going to stand? What's going to happen? Let's have a conversation. And if this is your first time, please consider subscribing. If you don't like what I'm saying, so you're not going to want to subscribe, put it in the comments. Let me know where I got things wrong. If you're watching this video 60 days from now and I got the assessment wrong, put that in the comments. But without me talking any longer right now, let's get right into the news.
Israel-Hezbollah agreed to renew their ceasefire amid a potential Iran deal. Joining us now to discuss is Kervin O'Quinn, former lead intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance coordinator for the U.S. Army and host of the podcast This Week Explained. Kervin, good afternoon. So a ceasefire reportedly went into effect at 4 p.m. local time in Lebanon. So how hopeful are you that this ceasefire will hold? But keeping in mind that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, saying a ceasefire in that region of the world just means you're firing less at each other.
Yeah, well, first of all, Don, it's so good to see you again. Always good to have these conversations. But I would say first, I think Vice President Vance is correct there. A ceasefire in the Middle East only means that you were firing not as much as you used to, maybe every other day in those regions. Look, it's going to be on. I think the onus is on Lebanon here to rein in Hezbollah, to do something about the Iranian proxy that is Hezbollah, to move them away from that southern portion of Lebanon within firing range of Israel. Because if strikes do continue, Israel is going to retaliate, and that is going to cause chaos in the region. And look, that is going to upend this 60-day MOU, memorandum of understanding, that the Trump administration and the Iranians have agreed to.
So can you explain for us what are Israel's military objectives for Hezbollah and Lebanon right now?
Yeah, I think Israel's objectives for Hezbollah is the complete annihilation of Hezbollah. They would say publicly that it is that Hezbollah puts down their arms and that they become, not a proxy of Iran, but a part of Lebanon that is not opposed to the state of Israel. And look, Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy, an Iranian proxy. Sorry, Hamas is an Iranian proxy. The Houthis in Yemen are an Iranian proxy. These are the proxies that are surrounding Israel at this moment. That's what we should be focused on right now, because it is those proxies who listen to Iran, and outside. So Iran has this leverage that they can say, well, look, that wasn't really us. That is just these other groups that are firing on Israel. But make no mistake, Iran is talking to those proxies and they are telling them, hey, keep that pressure on Israel because we do not want a state of Israel to continue to exist in this region.
That's an interesting point that you're making. So Iran has influence over Hezbollah's decisions. And then on the other hand, Iran is saying that we can't have a peace deal if Israel doesn't stop fighting with Hezbollah. So it's almost like Iran wants Hezbollah to attack Israel, but doesn't want Israel to respond in any form. Can you talk to us about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so the information operation campaign that was started October 8th, after the October 7th attacks from Hamas into Israel. I know I'm talking about Hamas right now, but this is globally, and these are part of Iran's proxies. That information operation campaign has permeated itself through Western culture to be anti Israel, and everything that every Iranian proxy does to Israel that Israel has to then retaliate to, it then looks bad on Israel. And Iran understands this. They know this. So they have no problem with Hezbollah continuing to strike Israel, knowing that Israel is going to strike back because they know that the rest of the world is going to blame Israel for all of this, and so they're going to be safe. And so that is how Iran sees it. They can pressure their proxies to continue this pressure campaign on Israel outside of the purview of this memorandum of understanding.
Does Hezbollah have the ability to sustain a long war?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. They don't. Iran doesn't have the ability to sustain a long time war. What they are relying on are entities like Russia and China, small part North Korea, but that axis that I continue to talk about that continues to fund these proxies. So they fund Iran, which then funds their proxies. And look, this memorandum of understanding, by all accounts, looks like it's opening up billions of dollars to the Iranians. And then there's stipulations that the Iranians cannot use this for Iranian military increase, right? So can Iran back channel that to their proxies and move the money to their proxies then? That would then allow them to increase their missile silos, increase their weapons to then attack Israel, because all Iran cares about is removing Israel as a state in the Middle East. And if they can do that, they have won this entire conflict.
Okay, so is that this goal of the Hezbollah-Israel conflict, to destabilize Israel, potentially remove Israel? Is that the main goal here?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And this has been talked about for decades, maybe even centuries, right? Um, uh, I say centuries. I know the state of Israel as it currently exists is not centuries old, but this has been a conflict centuries in the making. And those proxies and Iran has continued to state that what they want is the complete annihilation of Israel. They want the Jews out of that region. They want the Middle East to be an entire Islamic state. And they are trying to do that with their proxies because they can't do it alone. They don't have that kind of power to do it just within their borders. So what they do is they fund these proxies all over surrounding Israel right now, and that is the intent that Iran is waiting for. That is the intent that Iran wants at this moment.
So President Trump right now much wants the deal, and he's told both sides to show restraint. And Trump has said maybe Syria could handle Hezbollah. Do you think that's realistic?
I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about. We have a new leader of Syria that was a high value target for the United States because he was a leader of a terrorist organization. I think I think it benefits Syria if they do get involved with the United States and they lean on the side of the United States. I think that helps the country of Syria, but it also helps their government and the leadership there and their president show that they are on the side of Western nations. They are pushing away from Iran, and it can only benefit them. And if that does happen, and I'm not saying it will, but if it does, I think that opens up the region for the Abraham Accords to get closer to this agreement with Israel, and that it opens up the United States to be a better partner in the region.
So, Kervin, you said earlier that Israel's goal is the complete elimination of Hezbollah. Is that the only metric for success when it comes to this Israeli operation? In the sense that anything short of that, Israel will continue fighting Hezbollah?
Yeah, I think it depends on the definition of it. So it depends on what we define the complete annihilation of Hezbollah is. I think Hezbollah would believe that if they laid down arms, then that means all arms, small weapons, large weapons, their mortars, their missiles, all of that, that is a complete annihilation of Hezbollah because they can't defend themselves against Israeli attacks. I think Israel would agree to that, and then I do think that by definition, that does cause the complete annihilation of Hezbollah. They would no longer exist as an entity because then Lebanon could put pressure on them to move out. And I think that is the only thing that Israel would agree to. Hezbollah lays down all arms, small arms, large weapons, missiles, all of that, and moves out of the region, lets Lebanon, the government of Lebanon, take over. We have to understand the Hezbollah is different than Hamas. Lebanon is different than Gaza. Lebanon is controlled by a government outside of Hezbollah. Gaza is controlled by Hamas. Hamas is the governing body of Gaza. So if Israel starts with Hezbollah, they could lean on Lebanon through Syria and make this happen.
Okay, just one final question here, Kervin. You said earlier that it is the case that in the Middle East, a ceasefire means maybe you're not firing every day, maybe every other day. Does Iran see it that way? Because I'm wondering, what is your level of optimism that after 60 days that we're going to get a deal, a final peace deal with Iran, with everything that's going on between Israel and Hezbollah?
That's a fantastic question. What I usually say here is that you cannot fix Middle Eastern problems with Western values, and the U.S. continues to try to do that. And with ceasefires within the Middle East, it continuously is that it's just not firing every day, right? And so what I'm saying here is that while privately, Iran would see that, look, these every other day missile fires is not a violation of the ceasefire. Publicly, they would state that anything the United States or Israel does against Hezbollah, Hamas, any of the proxies, or within Iranian borders would be a violation. They would try to publicly state that. But to get to your question on I have hope that within 60 days we are going to have a peace deal. I am at highly unlikely that we are going to see a peace deal in 60 days. And the reason I say that is because there are stipulations in the memorandum of understanding that it would be continued as long as all the players are negotiating in good faith. And because that is put into place, I think this memorandum of understanding is going to get continued. It's going to move past 60 days. And look, we've seen this with Hamas and Israel. There is still not a firm peace deal after over a year of basically a memorandum of understanding or a ceasefire. We still don't have peace truly between Israel and Hamas. We're not going to see peace truly between Iran and the United States, especially within the next 60 days.
Yeah, that's a good point there with the Hamas ceasefire. Okay, always great to talk to you, Kervin. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much. Go USA,
Yeah,
and stay safe out there.
that's right. Thank